Imagine you are running a high-end restaurant. You have to serve 17,000 meals a day. Your customers are exhausted, angry, and haven't slept in 20 hours. Your kitchen is the size of a two-car garage. Oh, and the floor is moving because you are in the middle of a hurricane in the North Atlantic. If you run out of eggs, you can't call a supplier. If your oven breaks, you have to fix it with a wrench. And if you screw up lunch, the pilots flying $100 million jets might faint from low blood sugar while landing on a moving deck. This is not Hell's Kitchen. This is the galley of the USS Gerald R. Ford. When we think of an aircraft carrier, we think of the fighter jets screaming off the catapults. We think of the nuclear reactors humming deep below the waterline. But the engine that truly drives this $13 billion warship isn't uranium. It's calories. Food is the only thing that separates a crew of 5,000 highly trained professionals from a mutiny. It is the fuel for the human machine. And the logistics of feeding a floating city in the middle of a war zone are arguably more complex than the logistics of launching an airstrike. Today, we are going deep into the belly of the beast. We are going to bypass the shiny flight deck and descend into the hot, noisy, chaotic world of the culinary specialists. We will show you how they crack 2,000 eggs before sunrise. We will explain the terrifying physics of deep-frying chicken in a storm. And we will reveal the secret economy of Taco Tuesday, where a single avocado can be worth more than a pack of cigarettes. If you want to know how the U.S. Navy really works, you have to look at what they eat. Let's start with the scale of the problem. The USS Gerald R. Ford is the newest, largest, and most expensive warship ever built. It carries a crew of over 4,500 sailors. When the air wing is on board, that number jumps to over 5,000. These aren't office workers sitting at desks. These are 19-year-olds hauling heavy chains, running up and down vertical ladders, and burning 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day. They are hungry all the time. To feed them, the ship operates on an industrial scale that boggles the mind. The grocery list for a single day at sea reads like a math problem from a nightmare. 1,600 pounds of chicken, 360 pounds of lettuce, 600 pounds of hamburger meat, 80 gallons of milk, and 20,000 cups of coffee. Coffee is the lifeblood of the Navy. If the coffee machines break, the ship effectively stops. The culinary specialists, or CSs, have to brew this black sludge 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, ensuring it is hot, strong, and infinite. But where do you put all this food? You can't just stop at a grocery store. When a carrier leaves Norfolk for a 6-month deployment, it is packed to the gills. The ship has massive walk-in freezers located deep in the hull. These freezers are so big you need a map to navigate them. They are packed with pallets of frozen meat, vegetables, and ice cream. The temperature is kept at -10 degrees Fahrenheit. Working in there requires extreme cold weather gear, even if the ship is sailing through the Persian Gulf, where it is 120 degrees outside. The logistics of getting the food to the kitchen is a workout in itself. The freezers are often decks below the galley. The food has to be moved by hand up ladders, through watertight doors, and down long corridors. This is the job of the cranks. Every new sailor, regardless of their actual job, spends their first 90 days as a food service attendant. They are the grunts of the galley. They haul the boxes. They scrub the pots. They peel the potatoes. It is back-breaking work. Imagine carrying a 50-pound box of frozen steaks up 3 flights of stairs while the ship is rolling 10 degrees to the left. It is a CrossFit workout that lasts 12 hours a day, and it is a rite of passage that every sailor, from the mechanic to the radar operator, remembers for the rest of their lives. Now let's talk about the cooking environment. The USS Ford has multiple galleys, but the main ones are hot, loud, and dangerous. The equipment is industrial grade. We are talking about massive steam kettles that can hold 80 gallons of soup, convection ovens big enough to roast a whole pig, and deep fryers that can cook hundreds of pounds of chicken wings in an hour. But cooking at sea introduces a variable that civilian chefs never have to deal with: motion. Imagine a vat of boiling oil. Now tilt the floor 20 degrees. The Navy has solved this with engineering. The deep fryers have locking lids and baffles to prevent the oil from splashing out. The pots on the stove have metal bars called sea rails that clamp them in place so they don't slide off, but accidents happen. If a sailor spills a gallon of soup on a non-skid floor during a heavy roll, it becomes a skating rink. Safety is paramount. Steel-toed boots are mandatory because dropping a frozen block of beef on your foot will shatter bone. And then there is the schedule. The galley never closes. The ship operates on an 18-hour day cycle for some and a 24-hour cycle for others. Breakfast starts at 600, lunch at 1100, dinner at 1700, and then there is midnight rations served from 2300 to 100 for the night shift. Midrats is the most controversial meal on the ship. Sometimes it is leftover lasagna from dinner. Sometimes it is fresh-baked cookies. And sometimes, on the bad nights, it is hamsters, chicken cordon bleu squares that are deep-fried and taste like cardboard. But when you have been working on the flight deck for 14 hours in the freezing rain, a hot hamster tastes like a Michelin star meal. The menu planning is a strategic operation. The ship runs on a 21-day cycle. This means the meals don't repeat for 3 weeks. This is crucial for morale. If you serve meatloaf 3 days in a row, the crew gets restless. Food is the only way to mark the passage of time. Taco Tuesday is a religious event. The line for the taco bar can stretch down the hallway. Burger Day on Saturday is a morale booster. Pizza night is a comfort. But there is one meal that every sailor fears: surf and turf. Steak and lobster. To a civilian, this sounds like luxury. To a sailor, it is an omen. The Navy usually serves steak and lobster only when bad news is coming. It means the deployment has been extended. It means you aren't going home for Christmas. It is an apology on a plate. When the lobster comes out, the mood in the mess deck drops. Let's talk about the financial cost. The Navy spends roughly $4.50 per sailor per day on food. That sounds impossible. How do you feed a grown man for $5 a day? By buying in massive bulk and cutting out the middleman. But even with that efficiency, the food budget for a single carrier strike group is astronomical. We are talking about tens of thousands of dollars a day, millions over the course of a deployment. And waste is a huge issue. If a freezer breaks, and they do, thousands of pounds of meat can spoil. That is a financial disaster. The culinary specialists are constantly monitoring temperatures, checking logs, and fighting a war against spoilage. But what happens when the fresh food runs out? When the ship leaves port, the salads are crisp, the milk is fresh, the eggs are in shells, but after 2 weeks at sea, things change. The lettuce wilts and disappears. The fresh milk is replaced by UHT milk, ultra-high temperature pasteurized milk that comes in a box and doesn't need refrigeration until opened. It tastes different, it lasts forever. Sailors tolerate it, but they don't love it. The eggs become powdered eggs. They come in a bag. You mix them with water and grill them. They have the texture of a sponge. This is when the skill of the culinary specialist really matters. A good cook can make powdered eggs taste okay with enough hot sauce and cheese. A bad cook turns them into rubber. The reputation of a ship often hangs on the quality of its cooks. A ship with good food is a happy ship. A ship with bad food is a powder keg. Replenishment at sea is the lifeline. Every week or so, a massive supply ship, the USNS Supply or similar, pulls alongside the carrier. They match speeds 15 knots, separated by only 150 feet of rushing water. This is underway replenishment. Helicopters lift pallets of food from the supply ship to the carrier's flight deck. This is vertical replenishment. It is a dangerous ballet, pallets swinging in the wind, rotors chopping the air. Once the food hits the deck, it is an all-hands evolution. Hundreds of sailors form a human chain. They pass boxes of lettuce, frozen chicken, and flour down the elevators and into the freezers. It has to be done fast. You can't leave frozen food sitting on a 120-degree flight deck. It melts. And a melted steak is a ruined steak. Now let's look at the hierarchy of eating. The enlisted mess is where the vast majority of the crew eats. It is loud, it is crowded, you wait in line with a plastic tray, you get your food cafeteria style, you sit at a metal table bolted to the floor, you have about 15 minutes to eat before you have to get back to work. The chief's mess is for the senior enlisted leaders, the chief petty officers. It is nicer. The chairs are padded, the coffee is better, the food is often cooked to order. It is a perk of rank. The wardroom is where the officers eat. It is a different world. There are tablecloths, there are stewards who serve the food. The officers pay a monthly fee out of their own pockets for better ingredients. They might have a salad bar with fresh avocados when the enlisted mess has none. This class divide is ancient and rigid. It reminds everyone of their place in the chain of command. But the most critical function of the galley is not nutrition. It is psychology. Isolation is the real enemy on a deployment. You are cut off from your family. You are working yourself to death. The only bright spot in your day is that burger or that slice of cake. The ship's bakery operates 24/7. The smell of fresh baked bread wafting through the ventilation system is a powerful drug. It reminds sailors of home. It calms them down. On birthdays, the bakers will make a cake. On holidays, they go all out. A Thanksgiving dinner on a carrier is a masterpiece of logistics. They roast hundreds of turkeys, they make thousands of pounds of stuffing. For a few hours, the war stops and the crew sits down together as a family. And then there is the waste disposal. What do you do with the leftovers of 17,000 meals? You can't just throw plastic bags into the ocean. The ship has a pulper. Food waste is ground up into a liquid slurry. It is mixed with water and pumped overboard, but only when the ship is a certain distance from land. This feeds the fish. Carrier sailors often joke that the sharks follow the ship because they know it's a floating buffet. Plastic is a different story. It cannot be thrown overboard. It is melted down into solid discs called pucks using a massive heat press. These pucks are stored on the ship until it hits port. The smell of melting plastic is another aroma that mixes with the jet fuel. The culinary specialists are trained warriors too. In a general quarters scenario when the ship is under attack, the galley shuts down. The cooks are also firefighters. They are stretcher bearers. They man the repair lockers. They drop their spatulas and pick up fire hoses. They are sailors first, cooks second. This duality is what makes the job so hard. You have to be a Michelin star logistics expert and a damage control firefighter at the same time. The cost of failure in the galley is operational. If the food is bad, morale tanks. Sailors get sloppy. Accidents happen on the flight deck. If the food is unsafe, you get food poisoning. Imagine a norovirus outbreak on a ship with 5,000 people sharing bathrooms. It spreads like wildfire. It can take a carrier out of the fight more effectively than a torpedo. The hygiene standards in the galley are stricter than a hospital. The medical officer inspects the kitchen daily. One cockroach, one temperature violation, and heads roll. The USS Gerald R has introduced new technologies to help. It has plasma arc waste destruction systems to vaporize trash. It has more automated ovens. It has better layout designs to reduce the walking distance for the cranks. But at the end of the day, it still comes down to human effort. It comes down to the petty officer third class who gets up at 3 a.m. to start the dough for the breakfast biscuits. It comes down to the crank who spends 4 hours scrubbing a burnt pot because he wants to go to sleep. The scale of this operation is a testament to American industrial power. No other nation can project power like this because no other nation can feed an army at sea like this. The ability to serve hot coffee and fresh eggs in the middle of a typhoon is a flex. It says to the world, we are here, we are comfortable, and we aren't leaving. So the next time you see an aircraft carrier on the news, don't just look at the jets. Think about the mountain of chicken wings below deck. Think about the rivers of coffee. Think about the unsung heroes in the paper hats who are fighting the battle against hunger, boredom, and exhaustion. They are the fuel pump of the fleet. Without them, the nuclear reactor is just a hot rock and the jets are just expensive lawn ornaments. If this deep dive into the hidden world of naval logistics made you hungry for more, you need to do three things right now. First, smash that like button. It helps us feed the algorithm. Second, subscribe and turn on notifications. We are working on a massive documentary about the psychology of nuclear submariners that you do not want to miss. And finally, I have a question for you. We talked about the powdered eggs, the hamsters, and the grueling 14-hour shifts in the kitchen. For a tax-free bonus and the chance to serve your country, could you survive 90 days as a cook on an aircraft carrier? Or would the smell of deep fryer grease and jet fuel break you? Tell me in the comments below. I'd cook or I'd starve. I read every single comment. If you think the kitchen is intense, wait until you see what happens inside the engine room when a steam pipe bursts. Click the video on your screen right now to see the story of the snipes, the engineers who live below the waterline. It is a nightmare you haven't heard about yet. Click it and I'll see you there.